The Day I Skipped School by Michael Botur. Read by the author. For Heather. In the day I skipped school, Susan and Tsuru, two lonely introverted high school girls, find themselves unexpectedly bonding as an ordinary morning of skipping school descends into something horrifyingly awful, something they'll bury under mountains of memory across the next decade, desperate to forget. The day I skipped school. Tsuru, the Japanese goody-good girl, is sitting at the front of geography class, and I totally want to throw darts at her back, or a knife, blades, needles, just something to ruin her perfect posture. So uppity and show-offy, like she's a different species. Her white polo shirt sitting perfectly on her statue body. Her hair is shinier than mine, her eyelashes thicker, her bra is newer and sturdier, her tits harder than everybody else's. The school is a write-off and we all wish we could stay away, and it's frustrating that Tsuru seems oblivious to the shithole her parents have enrolled her in. The mean girls from my class throw a green rocket towards the front of the class, which crumples as it hits her back. It's a paper dart with boogers in it. Tsuru feels the snotty plane tap her spine, shivers once, adjusts her shoulder blades, continues to absorb the lesson, acting oblivious. Bitch, fuckwit, dumbass, moron. Girls' high sucks balls, Tsuru. The least you could do is to, raise the level of dignity is give us some pushback by reacting when you hassle you. Jesus. Things are different where she comes from, I suppose. Tsuru is from Japan. Her mum's a grumpy lawyer, and her dad is an accountant for the Japanese embassy downtown. I saw them once, and they looked frightened of the world, walking in front and behind her, protective of Tsuru like she was a little baby bird. The protectiveness just made it worse at school. Kids still call her slanty or say love you long time or biff condoms at her, and she doesn't say shit. Our class right now is geography. It's boring as hell. Ms. Botur is tapping the whiteboard where she has projected a map of the world, showing all these exotic locations, Polynesia and Easter Island and Tierra del Fuego and shit. Talking about human migration and blah blah blah. Koreans have more Neanderthal DNA than the rest of us, and the land bridge from Asia to Canada, and how Japan's crane wife fairy tale was transported to the alert people of Alaska through continental drift or some shit. Cultural memetics and the Kamchatka people and the Kodiaks, and I've tuned out, honestly. I have two things to care about hunched in my corner. I care about my manga comic under my geo book, and I care about Connie and Francine and Hannah not fucking with me and stealing it. Uzumaki is the super violent seinen comic about a curse that's taken over a Japanese town in the form of a spiral. It pulls people's heads into vortices or vortices or whatever they are, curls people's spines into ropes and stuff, bends people like cinnamon rolls. It'd be super awesome if the Uzumaki curse hoovered up Connie and Francine and Hannah's three-headed bitch dog trio and contorted their faces with agony. Let them know what it's like to suffer. Sitting midway down the class, far enough away that Ms. Botur can't hear them, the Cerberus bitches are planning a keg party, and they are discussing the invite list loud enough for poppies and losers to hear if we have made the cut. I know I'll be on the pop list because I play my way through the ranks. I put in effort to not be a loser so that I can survive school, throwing out strategic compliments and lending the bitches money and giving them cans of Rockstar energy drink. But honestly though, I barely keep my head above popular water. I'll go to their party if they invite me, but I literally hate crowds. My idea of a good time is sneaking out of school to throw rocks at the windows of an old factory, or wandering by myself around an art gallery of naked drawings, something that'll really give my parents reasons to fret over me. Or breaking into the basement of Mr. English's big white house. That's what I'm into, yeah. Looking for an old lamp with a genie in it. Yeah, that'd give me the thrills I need. Al English is the saggy-necked, almost 60-year-old silk dressing gown wearing Jaguar driving creep who hits on me every time I accept one of his smokes when I'm dawdling in the alleyway to get to school slower. Mr. English stains my day every time his yellow alcoholic eyes touch me. I'll be kicking through drifts of leaves in the alleyway and then find myself accepting a cigarette while he rests his fat frog throat on the fence, breakfast cocktail in his right hand, stroking the cord of his dressing gown, bragging about how his property management business has like 1,000 clients, how he gets to spend all day in his slippers, how many kids he's put into this world, how dating is better than ever in his 50s, how his pescatarian diet gives him increased virility, whatever the fuck that means. The gross old pedo just starts my day dirty, that's the point. Ms. Boker's voice cuts into my daydream. Since we're talking about cultural traditions in Japan, she goes, "Can anyone tell me the tale of the crane wife?" No one puts her hand up, so Ms. Boker claps her hands together and goes, "Alrighty then," and with her big dumb enthusiasm, and she begins explaining. Alright, so there was once a gentleman who randomly stumbled into a relationship with a woman. Could have been any one of you girls. The woman in question was, in fact, a crane disguised as a human. The hero of the tale didn't know this at the time, bear in mind. Now, to help her man make money and keep him happy, the crane wife plucked her own feathers to weave a silk brocade, which the man sold. Their lives increased in affluence, girls, and you know what? Everything was going swimmingly. Swimmingly, that was, until one fateful day. Excuse me, miss? Hannah has her hand in the air. I just wanted to say, Connie looks like a crane with her bony white ass. Oh, shut the actual fuck up, Connie responds, and the girls start laughing and fighting. Tsuru swivels her head and half her body to study the pop girls. Just a little swivel, as if her parents will be notified if she turns away from the teacher for half a second. It's not the first time I've seen Tsuru study us, looking down her curious beak like she's an eagle up in the canopy. As she turns, her skirt rides up her thigh. I can see etched lines, like a barcode of scar tissue, places where she must have accidentally... Holy shit, she's a cutter. Damn, I never thought Tsuru would be the type. My eyes are fixed on the notches in her thigh. I can picture the right hand slicing into the pure, soft bulge of flesh, 2-inch slices at a time, consistent, evenly spread cuts. Yeah, girl, I feel you. Space the cuts consistently so a girl knows she's got control over something in this shitty world. Me, I'm a slicer too. I make a notch recording every cold criticism from my mum. I'll show her someday too. Look what all your rules and critiques and going on about getting a boyfriend made me do, Mum. Ladies! Miss Boker claps. Seriously now, girls, I haven't finished. Let's see if we can't squeeze in the ending. Now, according to the legend, the bell is ringing above Miss Boker's head, making her hair shake. We become a tsunami of green skirts and white shirts, crimson ties, swinging bags. Tsuru is nearly sucked into the hall as the class pours out until she comes too close to Francine, who pulls the bag off Tsuru's back and rifles through it, helping herself to exotic Japanese perfume and to Tsuru's panda pencils, plus her calculator, which looks like it's worth money. Thank you. Boss bitch Hannah Kitchen pipes, as if it's been a fair exchange. Pleasure any time, Connie adds, lifting a banknote out of Tsuru's purse. Francine blows a mocking kiss. Konnichiwa, skank. The bitches dissolve into the river of shirts and skirts flowing out to lunch. I want to catch Tsuru's eye and let her know that I don't approve. This isn't right. The girls in my seinen comics would fight back, surely. Tsuru's eyes will probably ask me why I didn't stick up for her, though, and I don't have an answer. So I melt into the river myself, flow into another depressing day, wishing I'd had the guts not to come in the first place. Next day, today, I'm skipping school. The fog is heavy as a wet blanket and it's probably going to rain. My skin is dewy and my breath is white and I don't know where I'll go. I just know school is a miserable prison and it's safer to stop midway up my street and not take another step closer. At the end of the grass berms, where my street's slow trickle pours into the going-to-work traffic torrent, I can see the rush hour rat race of people in their cars, bumper to bumper, glinting in the morning moisture. They don't notice me. I'm just some skinny 16-year-old nobody who secretly cuts herself thin enough to disappear behind the cherry trees in the autumn mist. I could have crossed the road, could have hovered on an island and then proceeded to school to wince my way through the day, hoping that Connie and co don't notice me, but nah, I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing geography today. I'm not learning ethnic folklore. I'm not watching the clock while I poke my leg with a compass to stay awake. I'm not wading through a choked hall of lookalike bitches. I'm walking a mile back down my posh, leafy street in the opposite direction from Girls' High. Where am I walking? God knows. All I know is I'm definitely skipping school. That's me, yep. Total rebel, Princess Leia, Joan of Arc, Tay-Tay, boss bitch. I'm Beyonce. I'm turning firmly around and making a plan to go back to my parents' house. If Mum's car is unlocked, I can steal some of her parking coins and go buy cigarettes and candy and maybe a bottle of cooking wine if I show the clerk my pierced nipple. All I need is to zig from tree to tree through the fog, zag between a couple of parked SUVs speckled with dew, and duck down outside number 1807 so that Mr. and Mrs. Khan's security camera doesn't record me and so they don't tell my dad. I start with a few steps. Then I'm fully in it, fully skipping school. After 5 minutes, I'm a full-on ninja. I scamper under the cameras and flagpoles and high gates of 1753, 1725, 1619. I make it down as far as 1609 when I realise that the white shirt, green skirt uniform that looks like a mirage is actually... Oh, God. Oh, please, God, no. It's her. It's Tsuru, the exchange weirdo. And she just waved at me. Fuck. I know next to nothing about this goth Lolita bitch, except she's probably a snitch, and I'm probably going to get found out. I press my back against the fence of a property called Silver Lining Lodge, which looms over a slim alleyway. I melt into the privet hedge and try to catch my breath. Tsuru should literally not be here. Last thing I need right now is witnesses. I hear the hoof of her black leather boots clopping towards me like a damn Clydesdale. The clocks stop, and she's there, in front of my hedge, wavering like a video game character, waiting for you to hit start. I move forward and out of my scratchy bush. "Fuck are you doing here?" "Hi," she says, shyly moving her hair behind one ear, and she adds, "Susan," as if saying my name is a separate thought. "It's Susan, yo," I want to tell her. Except, I like the way that she says my name delicately, as if the texture is fresh on her tongue. Susan. No one else says my name like it's special. Hey, just so you know, I'm not really, I have no idea how to end the sentence. What am I going to tell Tsuru? I don't live here? I'm not really cutting class? I gulp, push my own hair back, and I go, "So you going to school, or..." Tsuru blushes, pours her face into her hands, suppresses a snicker, a giggle. I can tell she's struggling to formulate an explanation. The bitch has got a naughty streak. "You're cutting class, right?" I continue, painting over her nervous silence, making things less awkward. "Hey, it's cool. Me too, I mean, unless you're just late, or..." Tsuru is nodding like a woodpecker. "Oh, I guess we can hang. If you're not getting a ride or whatever." Our bodies clearly want to walk somewhere. It's just that one direction would take us to school, the other direction would take us to my place. We hover on the lip of the alleyway. We have the mist to cover us for now. "You guys are at number 14, right? You're up at the place with the little checkpoint control box guard thing. Your family, what's the word? I don't speak your, Listen, hey, is your people's place, is it safe to hang out at, or..." We talk it over and work out that it's a no to Tsuru's house, and it's a no to mine too. I can disarm the security system at my parents' place, but the problem is I can't erase the CCTV footage that gets fucking beamed to my parents' goddamn mobile phones telling them I'm being naughty. A car comes, black and glistening, a Mercedes. I find my hand, crumpling Tsuru's shoulder, as I pull us into a closet of privet to hide. We watch the car cruise past, headed towards a purpose, unlike us. We haven't even thought up something to do with our day. We need to think, we need to plot, to plan, to lay out a mission. I guess we could call an Uber, except my dad pays my credit card bill, so he monitors all my transactions, and I totally know that he'll snoop. Tsuru finally motions for us to scuttle to another alleyway between 1599 and 1601, an alleyway I've dropped many a bottle and cigarette butt in, but the problem is this alleyway goes past the house of... Oh, seriously, oh, please, God, no. The alleyway goes past the house of frog-throated property king Al English. We don't have a choice. His gate opens smooth as a fridge door and closes cleanly. His yard is all paving stones and bird baths and sculptures of white cherubs. A fountain, a pond, lily pads, a pergola with roses, a hammock. Tsuru has a cute backpack of that fluffy panda cat beast called Totoro. Just past the gate she kneels, opens the backpack, pulls out a pack of smokes, a stolen-looking bottle of brandy and some men's razor blades. And I spot a trio of comics in there too. Biomeat, Ichi the Killer, Uzumaki, the one about the deadly spiral. Unless Tsuru has gone and shoplifted in my bedroom, I think this crazy bitch has got the same taste as me. We fill, yes? What, fill your backpack with, what, Mr. English's shit? Like, are you saying rip him off? Tsuru is nodding and about to blurt something when I spot Mr. English and stick a finger against her lips. Shh, it's time to roll, the rich old fuck. He's waiting at the top of the stone steps. Must have seen us in the alley, looking directionless. He is stirring his coffee and finishing a conversation on his Bluetooth headset. Black lizard eyes under squares of uniformly caramel skin, like he's had skin grafts or plastic surgery. The hair on top of his cooked pink head is squelched down with some kind of sticky wax, though it springs out of his chest in fuzzy curls. Sure, I'm concerned about getting tongue-raped and manipulated, but we have to be off the street so truancy services doesn't tackle us. Being in a rich guy's house with shag carpet and a dark wood spiral staircase with a library and a drinks cabinet is relatively okay in comparison, I guess. He presses the device in his hair, and he says, "Girls, top of the morning to you," as if it's totally not unusual for teenagers to appear in his yard. He waves us in, walking behind, presumably so he can get an eyeful of our asses. He locks and bolts the ranch slider behind us. We sit on his hard leather couch while he puts Pop-Tarts in the toaster for us. He mixes us a drink each in a martini glass. I'm bunched up against Tsuru, sitting so close that the barcode scars on our thighs press together. I glance sidelong at her, sitting upright and anxious. Tsuru's lips are nervous, puckered pinpoints. They need to be kissed, I think, weirdly. Mr. English is away talking smack, roaming the parlour and kitchen, mentioning 5 or 6 times that we are welcome to help ourselves to the champagne he's put in the ice bucket on the coffee table. The ice cubes in his glass clink as he paints with his hands. And that's when I realise that the wisest thing to do is acquire tranche number 3, considering the all-time nadir and volatility. You'd be an imbecile not to acquire them. You know what I mean? He says, settling into an armchair with his third drink, folding one knee over the other, adjusting his dressing gown over his fat thighs. We all remember what happened to prices in '08, obviously, but enough about my passion. A smile leaks across his face. His eyes crease until they are black lines. Tell me, ladies, tell me what gets you off. Tsuru's eyebrows are so high up, I'm worried that they are going to burst out the top of her head. She's been given a glass of stinky schnapps, but she doesn't know where to put it. I am liking swimming in the ocean, she goes. When this is warm water, when it's warming. My daughter, Annika, she was swimming at Summer Bay 4 years ago, and she... Bent over, Mr. English is melting, warbling, warping, like water is falling through his body. He's pinching his nose, his bottom lip shiny with moisture. Jesus, the dude's crying. And he's rolling forwards out of his chair, knees on the floor like he's praying to Allah. What the fuck? I've only taken one bite of my Pop-Tart, and already the day is an abortion. I was hoping to get, I don't know, propositioned, kind of, or robbed at least, something exciting. But here me and Tsuru are, sidestepping African statuettes and Javanese idols to get to an old caveman hunched over in a half somersault to rub his back and cheer him up. Tsuru is murmuring, soothing things to the creep. We share a gaze, and then our heads turn mutually to the wine rack. Tsuru unzips her backpack. I begin filling it. After a minute, the drunk, hairy, dressing-gowned wreck looks up from his puddle of tears on the carpet, staring, shocked, and seizes Tsuru's wrist as she tries to step over him and grab the champagne. "Take me to my room. Down those stairs, please. You have to." He snatches both of our forearms. We have no choice but to park our bags of loot and help him up. The guy's shorter than me, and his pale yellow throat bulges like a fat frog. He says, "The Burgundy," and turns and grabs a bottle of wine and a corkscrew, and he has a final glug of blood-dark, stinky alcohol before we let him descend the few steps to his sunken bedroom. Bronze wood panels, thick carpet, mirrors above the bed, a low ceiling like we're on a yacht. The sheets we peel off his California Super King waterbed are rich black silk. We urge him into the sloshing bed, and he hands his burgundy and corkscrew to Tsuru. She studies the objects she's been handed. Looks like she's never used a corkscrew before. Its point is so sharp that it twists into a needle, then disappears. Cheers for having us over, I guess. I ask Tsuru a question with my eyes, like, "Why are we still here? This guy's a drunken loser. What are you hoping for?" "Sue, it's first period. We've got a cruise, right?" Dumped on the bed, Mr. English is lying on his back, smiling, teeth sticking out over his lip like an alligator. He doesn't look upset anymore. His eyes gleam in their wet pink patches. I shouldn't be standing this close to his bed. He snatches my wrist, crushing my white shirt sleeve. "Nurse," he says, "you have to look after me." I splat into his bed and the covers close on top of me. And even though he's shorter, Mr. English is twice as heavy, squishing me as he rolls on top, licking and nibbling and sucking my throat, pushing my hands against the headboard. In the mirror on the ceiling, I watch the sheets slide off his furry black back as his legs push my knee-high socks out to the sides, starfish wide, his arms mirroring mine, keeping my hands pressed away from his eyes so I don't claw him. I don't scratch or scream or bite. My brain is still half in the alleyway, stunned, still thinking I can control what's going to happen in my day. Mr. English pulls his lips off me, leans back, shrugging out of his dressing gown, tugging at the elastic band of his boxer shorts, revealing a stripe of veiny blubber as he begins to yank his undies over one leg. There is a pen in his neck, suddenly, a silver pen that I've never noticed, or it's grown there just now. A pen or a torch or a crank, something with a black plastic handle sticking to his froggy throat sack with black paint. No, it's a dark purple blackcurrant juice that spasms, squirting across the room. Blood dark as ink, dripping down the cupboard doors, thick and slow as barbecue sauce. Mr. English falls backward off me and kicks, fingering whatever's stuck in his neck. His crusty toes bash my chin, and I bite my tongue. I roll out of bed, clutching my school uniform against me like armour, too breathless to scream. Tsuru reaches to pull the corkscrew out of the man's neck. I slap her hand away, shove her towards the exit. We pause, turn, watch him struggle. Mr. English's legs push away from wherever he thinks the corkscrew is. He kicks himself off the bed, lands heavily on the corkscrew side. He speckles the carpet with a dozen dark puddles as he tries to stand, one hand on the flap of his dressing gown, modest. He gropes his neck, but can't grasp the slippery corkscrew handle between his stained fingers. The corkscrew is deep, almost inside him, buried. "Ambulance," he croaks, bending, folding, sitting on his butt in a pool of oil spreading so thickly there are little ripples and rapids in the blood. His eyes attempt to meet ours, but they are flicking in two separate directions. "You fell back." While I've been frozen, Tsuru has gone up to the kitchen and brought down wine carriers and canvas shopping bags as well as her fluffy Totoro backpack. She dumps the sacks at my feet. "Hey, filling bag, now!" Mr. English gurgles, tries to crawl towards us through the red sticky swamp, hairy bum in the air as if he's pretending to be a worm. "Everything," Tsuru orders me. Is he dead? He can't be." "Everything, Susan, bag." I scurry up to the kitchen. We open another liquor cabinet and I stuff 2 sacks with Bacardi, Jim Beam, VSOP, Courvoisier. I toss in a silver cheese knife, a mortar and a pestle, steak knives, a candlestick, postage stamps, a restaurant voucher, a meat thermometer. Think, girl, what's going to make you rich? What do you need? What will you regret not taking? Thinking, grabbing... Shit, this china plate. Yeah, fuck, okay, dropped it. Pour out the parking coins from the fruit bowl. Yeah, okay, I'll take a metronome. Okay, weird. Take his car keys, a crystal ashtray, a letter opener, a butter dish. Fuck. I'm so busy stacking bags of loot by the ranch slider, preparing to escape in the alleyway, that I realise I haven't seen my friend in minutes. I freeze. Cold shiver. Fuck was that noise? Sounded like a hand cracking walnuts. Somebody ripping a fish in half. No, water balloons smacking on concrete. Wet, tearing, dripping, juicy, splatty crunch. I tiptoe down the 3 carpeted stairs to Mr. English's sunken bedroom. I peer around the corner. I see a pelican, its yellow beak, thick as half a kayak, too large for the room, hunched under the ceiling, pulling off chunks of red-stained robe and gulping them down. An enormous seabird, giraffe-sized, crammed in a tiny space, bumping its head, its beak like 2 surfboards, its eyes black frisbees. Its wings are white curtains stained grey, bunched, quivering. Its rear end spans meters, reaches into the ensuite bathroom, tail feathers big as paddles. The giant bird twists its head to pull a chunk of flesh inside it. It has Mr. English's arm in its beak. A webbed grey foot like a rubbery stingray is clawing, holding Mr. English's body while it pulls him apart, beginning with his left arm. His free hand is trying to hold on to a bedsheet. He's looking at me with drowning eyes. The pelican thing makes the choking, sucking sound of a blocked vacuum cleaner, then gulps the arm into its mouth, sucking up the black silk sheet like a napkin, and Mr. English's head disappears. His shoulder blades are folded and squashed as he trickles head first down its sticky throat. After his shoulders, it swallows his back and belly, his hairy butt, his butter thighs. I watch the shape of his body stretch the gullet of the bird. Lastly, the cord of his dressing gown whispers, flaps, as if asking us to fetch help. Then the slippers fall from his toes as he disappears. The bird chokes, pulls, swallows, and when it has finished swallowing, it turns to me. Its eyes are my equal. It knows who I am. Big bird from Sesame Street. Big bird with black eyes, big bird with a mouth of stiff plastic. That's what its beak looks like as it talks. Now you've seen. The giant creature's eyes flex. As it swallows, its eyes blink, huge and slow, eyelids of skin from elsewhere, from a dimension of sea-bottom beasts asleep in the deep. My scream tears the air in two. The bird stomps, revolves, and grunts. Its head smacks the lampshade. How did it even get in? A pelican? Yes? No. Heron? Stork? Swamp bird? Eater of snakes and tadpoles and... Sad, eater of sad, lonely, desperate deserve. Susan, promise you'll keep me secret. I promise. I back up the stairs, leaving my bag of kitchen loot. I rattle the ranch slider until I'm screaming and throttling and praying, and the ranch slider handle breaks, and I sprint down Mr. English's garden stairs, slipping on expensive white stones, gasping as I bump over a gnome and it shatters, and I leave my heart throbbing behind me. Tsuru appears from somewhere, dropping a computer monitor in the goldfish pond, her fingers tense like claws as she catches up and grasps my shoulder, sacks of loot rattling at her side. My school bag, heavy with rattling metal and stone. We sprint to my house, shower together, put our clothes in the washing machine, set the cycle for 8 hours, and hide under my bed. We cry and bite our knuckles and weep into my mum's belly and watch my dad thump the wall and turn away, wait for detectives who never come, and watch the news for reports of Mr. English missing, and read his obituary in my dad's Property Investors Federation newsletter, and slowly return to school. I have a skeleton of steel now. I have a hardness in me. I sit beside Tsuru now, every class, and let her lean on my shoulder and whisper. And when Ms. Botur tells us to get a room, I tell her to go fuck herself. I challenge her to a 1-out, and I have to go to the principal and the counsellor. And that same week, I push Connie into a pile of desks, hold a sharp pencil against Francine's eye, and crush Hannah's scalp in front of 50 girls in the hall, and scream in her terrified face, "I ain't afraid of nothing no more, especially not you bully bitch cunt fuck." And I laugh and pash and sip vodka from our drink bottles in the toilets, and I accept a bundle of correspondence school papers, and I battle my exams, lying on my bedroom floor, sipping alcohol and popping Prozac and bleaching my hair and listening to Baroque music and studying, sending secret forbidden texts to my BFF. And I realise, opening my university results one morning 2 years later, wondering how the fuck I got an A+ for accounting in the first place, when I resent keeping records, when I resent remembering things, I realise I've drifted down a river of time far from where I used to be, and that my counsellor has taught me how to ground myself, how to stop letting people rock me off my perch, and I realise it is safe now. No more cognitive distortions, no more hallucinations, no more waking up at 4 a.m. whispering. There is no monster chasing me, and probably there never was. I can stop running.
That's cool what he wrote about you.
2. College is fucking lit. On our first night, the Finance Society puts on a Burning Man party with a scarecrow stuffed with straw. They light the thing up, and all us accounting and commerce kids rip off our clothes and dance in our bras and panties, playing beer pong and chanting anthems and throwing coconuts full of beer, tearing up our student loan contracts, pashing strangers, climbing the registry building, pissing off roofs. We party and study and blow up condom balloons, and we scream at the future. We are not afraid. Summer, we get a break, and my heart rate finally slows. A lot of the girls are off getting with boys, but I'm not really focused on cock, nor is my best friend. Out at the beach, me and Tsuru toss our clothes into the wind and stomp through bitter green waves, shrieking, nipples hard as marbles. She's still shy, still perpetually running away, hiding, retreating, and I tackle her from behind, force her into the dark sand, hold her down as an icy wave tosses pebbles over us. In autumn, there's Pumpkin Fest, and we dance on the stone bridge in the middle of campus until our feet ache. At night, we watch speech bubbles of white emerge from our mouths, linger in the black, under the frosty, twinkling sky. There's a party in Hamilton Hall, and as we drunkenly stumble to it, I tell Tsuru, wait, and pull a mouthful of orange juice from her backpack and a mouthful of vodka, and tell Tsuru that she is one organised bitch. Orgasm, huge throbbing organs, and Tsuru rolls her eyes and marches my drunken ass up the stairs, and she's so pissed off at my rude Western white girl ways, she tries to get away from me. Bitch can't help but be polite, though. That's her DNA. Silly Tsuru. All mild warnings and soft threats, so she's knocking patiently on this party door and tapping her foot passive-aggressive until I catch up and begin massaging her shoulders, and I smell her mango-y shampoo and sneak a little drunken nibble of her earlobe, and she tilts her head left, inviting me to nibble again. The hall is ours, world, so fuck you, and I don't want any passengers sharing my drunken ship. But the hallway is spinning, and the party door opens, and we fall inside, and there are candles flickering by an open window, and wavering curtains like ghosts, and jazz on the speakers, and an amazing gathering of bitches. Yeah, there's Thingy Blue here, there's the reporter from the what is it? The student paper thing, and Kate Smirnoff. Shirt off, she tells me. You're loaded, Susan. Takes one to know one, I drunkenly tell her. Connie, we're friends now, fuck the needy bitch, is whispering in Tsuru's ear over by the kitchen island. Tsuru is looking down in judgment, her arms folded. Those bitches are obviously talking about babysitting me till I sober up, like I need their pejorative frickin' okay, I'm going down. I'm letting them press my shoulders. The curtains are drawn. Ring of candles. Dark, spooky room. A buttery flame between every girl's knees. They are folding me into the floor, and there is a circle of people around me. And Connie settles a plate of lasagna between my knees and gives me a fork. And I take a mouthful, then jam my dirty fork down her cleavage and cackle so hard that I spurt up little chunks of meat and tomatoey onion and tell my friends, this lasagna is seriously so good. You totally got to get some down ya. They're not laughing, my friends. They are not lit up much either. It is dark as inside a cinema in here. In front of my toes is that thing from that movie, Ouija board. Yeah, that's what it's called. Your turn, Susan, I suppose, Connie says to me, wiping between her tits with a piece of paper. We've already gone. Have you ever witnessed the paranormal? Tell us a story. The paranormal, I go, and snigger, and gulp my Smirnoff and cheesy pasta. Is that what we're conversating about? You heard her, biatch, one of my friends goes. Slender Man, some of us have seen him. And Mariam said she's encountered a fucking yeti, like for reals, when she was volunteering in Nepal. And Chulani, she got her door knocked on by a vampire. We all told us spooky stories. You don't get to drunk your way out of this, girlfriend. It's your turn to share. Come on, fess up. I look over at Tsuru. She's too far away for me to grab her hand and squeeze. I can see her shrinking, folding, packing up her joy, preparing to skip town. I swallow. I drain a cup of mulled wine, crumple the cup, play with the squashed, cracked plastic, and then toss it into the dark corners of the room. Are you sure you guys want to hear this? 'Cause just saying, it'll spook the crap out of you. Just fucking tell us, Suze. The world is encased in ice. Our eyeballs lock for eternity. You can't tell anyone this, okay? Alright, so when I was like 15, 16, I skipped school this one day and I had nowhere to go. Like, I couldn't hang out at my mum and dad's place, but there was this creepy, lecherous kind of dude, and I guess I went to his house and, oh my god, and you fucked him? Connie goes, grinning. Did you suck his dick? Oh my god, you totally did. You sucked his dick. Ugh, tell us how disgusting it was. Ew, did his foreskin have like head cheese under it from like the 1970s and shit? No, I was with... I look over at the only person in the world who shares my secret. Silent Tsuru has tilted her head so that her face has been covered up by the hair that's fallen around it. It's not a big deal, this thing. It's like public knowledge. It was in the papers. And in the papers it said, bloody crime scene. Landlord missing. And in the papers it says, day 10 without body. Police halt search. Property magnate staged disappearance. Police believe. I skipped school and I saw this... Spill it. Come on, Suze. What did you see? I saw this guy and he was going to hurt me, and then like it came out of nowhere. It just sort of, and I promised. Promised what? Promised I wouldn't tell. Frozen clock. Everyone's eyes are paused, bodies still, ears pointed towards me. I'm watching Tsuru unfreeze, preparing to walk out permanently. If I speak, I have lost her, and no story is worth losing her. I am up, I am drunk, and I barge the hat stand over. I leave the door open. The girls complain and call me back, but I'm sprinting down the fire stairs, and I'm catching Tsuru just before she gets in an Uber. She's slapping me, and I'm touching my fiery cheek. She cools my burned cheek with her lips. Then her tongue is on mine in the back of the Prius, and her knee pushes into the cleft between my thighs, and we're glued crotch to crotch, cold noses pressed into each other's ears. We're waddling into the room we share, where there used to be 2 single beds until tonight, and I am licking every secret scar carved into her skin, working upward from her knee to her panties till I hit the sweet spot, and we drink one another. 3. Our love makes years melt and decades dissolve. Years of arms wrapped around Tsuru's waist at the kitchen sink. Years leaning into the cleft between her shoulder blades, resting my head there. Years cooling her down when Tsuru gets flustered with her hater parents on Skype and slams the lid of the laptop down. Parents who are all anti about her having friends, anti about her coming out, anti everything. I'm there when she's had a bad day, and we lie on our bellies in bed and sip sake and eat pistachios and gasp at our seinen horror comics and say, oh my god, check this out. I'm there when she wants to share the bathtub with the only human she trusts. I am there to snuffle kisses from her throat down to her thighs. When I'm not drunk on love, I'm drunk on tallying and reconciling and filing. Accounting is a sensible career for me. I've had more good luck than I deserve, and it is time I appreciated whichever God gave me my ally, my confidant, my co-conspirator, my secret wife at home. Well, a common law wife, since our marriage hasn't been planned yet. Every Friday night, I start getting mad at my reports around 7 p.m, and Tsuru walks up behind my swivel chair, lifts my hair, kisses my neck. We make love in every room of our house. We cool down and let our hearts relax. We catch up on years when we missed when we were afraid all the time, running from repercussions. We want children, and we want to get married, though we're both not sure in what order we should get it all done. We go to see fertility first at that private hospital with the shiny tower. Our expert, Himesh, squirts moisturiser between his fingers and then gets Tsuru to lie on her back. We hold hands with him while Himesh gets us to close our eyes and to envision not the sperm and egg, not the birth, but to envision the people that we want to share our blessing with. One of the people we want to bless our child's birth is the sperm donor. This is the only thing that matters, Himesh tells us, how the story of a person makes you feel about them. Go with the story that sings to you, Himesh tells us. Choosing a sperm donor from a catalogue is quickly completed in 10 minutes. The man we choose is chubby, he's a web developer, he's ginger, he's South African, he's terrible at stand-up comedy, his profile says, and he dresses up as Santa to make kids smile at Christmas. He is nothing like the men that we grew up with, the beasts. Within an hour, we have our future planned. Tsuru works from an office pinned to our garage. She scours internet auctions and old ladies' garage sales and buys antiques cheap and sells them online for a premium. She has an instinct for which things should be passed on quickly and which things must be sat on for years. In our spare room, she keeps floor-to-ceiling glass cabinets, and in there, among the suits of armour and ebony carvings, are a crystal ashtray, and a letter opener, and a butter dish, objects with radiation on them, contaminated from some throbbing, glowing, chained-up locker buried under the back of my brain. We put away savings, and we can afford to meet Tsuru's parents' idea of an authentic Shinto wedding, even though they mostly don't want us to marry. We find a pure white ushikake kimono for meek, secretive, demure Tsuru. As for me, it's agreed that my ushikake will have a black stripe and an embroidered crane, a bird that I have dreamed about for years. Connie can be the shrine maiden, the miko. She gets to pour the rice wine into our sacred cups for the ceremony. And we sketch plans for our parents' tomisore kimonos in case they agree to wear them. We source wedding cake makers, a party quiz on printed cards, games of mini golf and bulls, cake, karaoke, a place with a tatame room. Tsuru knows special corners of Alibaba.com where she can get nuptial silver cups for us to drink our sake in the ritual of Sansan Kudo. Rings, hair, makeup, all efficiently organised in a file on the computer of my reclusive, thoughtful bride-to-be, my fiancé, my lover who falls asleep with me at the kitchen table, our foreheads resting on fancy paper stationery. After years of worry and angst and secrecy, it's finally a week to go until we tie the knot. Hen party, bitches! Me and Tsuru and Connie, Francine, Hannah, Grant from Zero, plus a couple of buddies from the LGBTQ community who won't out us too much, seeing as Tsuru's family keep going on about Himitsu when they tell her off over Zoom calls at 3 a.m, beaming in from Niigata. Himitsu this, Mimoto that. I finally have to use Google Translate when Tsuru won't tell me. It turns out that Himitsu Mimoto means covering up who you are. Goddamn control freaks are obsessed with keeping Tsuru's identity secret. It's like, fuck man, everyone's out these days, what's the big deal? We want to party the pre-wedding tension off, except Tsuru has a tiny shrimp baby growing in her tummy, so we're definitely not taking her clubbing, not that she would be brave enough for clubbing anyway. We decide to bring the party to her, hen night at our house. Everyone, fucking everyone, gives us shit for having a hen night together. You are supposed to be apart, they tell us. There is affection in their scolding, though. Big gay Grant pulls me into the laundry and laughs under the weak light bulb. Tells me he's honestly never met anyone in the universe that's as close as us two. How did you guys get so bound together tightly anyway? Did you go through the trenches together or what? Well, we ripped off this, we didn't set out to steal his... Then I stop. Nothing, Grant. Ripped off what now? Excuse me? Sister steals, you got a dark side and you have to tell us. The dress, somebody's chanting. It's Hannah, I think. She's pulling us out of our laundry. It's the dress, your kimono thing. Show us, come on. Yeah, bitch, Connie is going. You have to. They are tipping out Tsuru's closet of wedding prep. They are upending her hat boxes while she protests, wincing over her belly bump. Tsuru has a whole closet packed with kimonos. Gay Grant presses one against his body and parades up and down the house while my flustered fiancé chases him. Francine, pouring whiskey into her mouth, pulls stacks of comics from under our bed, and she and Hannah and all the bitches decide that they love Japanese horror. Shit's so seriously gross. Ugh. Especially the tentacle porn, plus the myths and legends. And then we settle into a quieter zone, all warmed up, all giggly and tiddly, resting our exhausted, drunken chests on the breakfast bar while the MDMA wears off. And we turn manga pages absently as we look for the next thing to giggle over. There's not much conversation left when I finally pull down the last bottle of sake, and we chink shot glasses, and we toss fire into our tummies and go, Well, everyone does except Tsuru. She doesn't toss anything into her tummy. Tsuru stands apart, hand on her pregnant stomach. So, that thing you were going to tell us, Connie goes. Come on, Suze. It's time. Fess up. What thing? The thing that happened on the day you skipped school, dumbass. You've kept us waiting for, God, how long? A spear in my heart. I stagger back an inch. The alcohol turns horrid on my tongue. I haven't thought about the thing in years. There are 8 eyes boring into me. 8 eyes across 4 heads. Not my girl's eyes. Over at the wall, Tsuru's head is bowed, crushed, turned down, ashamed as if she's preening her belly feathers. Typical Tsuru, looking down, hiding her secrets. My friends have been waiting a decade for the story, though. They are important to me too, and I can't let Tsuru guilt-trip me anymore. I stare down the hydroslide, and then I descend. Alright, so you guys, look. So there was this day that I skipped school, okay? It was like all misty on the day. It was like pea soup. This was high school, right? You guys remember year 12. I was 16 and... Sorry, Sue. I totally hated Tsuru's guts back then. Because I didn't know how to relate. Because she was like this hard-out, preppy prefect. I mean, perfect. God, drunk on sake. Tsuru has drifted to the edge of the room, like she is about to leave. She won't meet my eye. 2 hands cradling her belly, shuffling about all pigeon-toed. I down a shot of fiery sambuca, and I shudder, and everyone smiles. Connie is about to say something smart-ass, but my words come out first. Alright, so here's me skipping school one day, you guys. Thursday, I think it was, or Tuesday. Doesn't matter. And I'm dragging my feet. You know how it is. Like, at the time, my parents were super negative, and they totally wouldn't support me in going back to bed for a day. So I'm doing laps of my street. I'm at a loose end, you know. I'm trying to think up a place to go, somewhere to quietly self-harm and smoke ciggies or whatever. But who do I see coming up the motherfucking street? Tsuru, because her family live like half a mile down from me, and she's being a badass as well, which I didn't know at the time. Connie slides another sambuca along the bar top. It's my 5th, I think, or 15th. Things aren't adding up. My eyes are lying, because I could swear that Tsuru was against the wall 10 seconds ago, looking immaculate in silver and pink, sulking, studying us, and now she must be in the next room. Gone somewhere. Vanished. So, Tsuru drags me into this creepy pedo rich guy's house. And that's cool. Kind of, because, well, we needed a place to hang so that truancy didn't get us. But then he starts feeling me up and pushes me down in his bed, and I'm like, what the actual fuck? And then he starts having like a heart... Suze? His body was like jiggling, like electrocution sort of thing. Convulsions, you know, because he got... Okay, to be honest, because he got stabbed. I mean, he was going to rape us, and he fell on a knife. I mean, okay, let's be honest, it wasn't even a knife. It was one of those shark twisty things you use to open wine. It wasn't our fault. Holy shit, girl. Did you take him to the hospital? No, because it grabbed him. This bird did. It grabbed him with its beak, and... I can't even say it. I'm shaking so bad, I splash sambuca up my wrist. The sleeve of my blouse stinks. I'll just shut up now. I wasn't even supposed to tell. I promised I wouldn't say nothing. I said that I wouldn't. But you did. Connie looks like a judge, like a principal, like a truancy officer. There's no jokiness behind her eyes. You told Suze. How you gonna be faithful to your wife now, eh? You promised! Explosions in the white wall. Plaster dust in Grant's eyes. Knocked bottles. Screams. My friends duck under the table. The birds, wide wings, scrape the edges of the hallway, knocking picture frames as it crunches towards us, crushing the floorboards. Its head bursts the light bulbs in the ceiling. The bird fills the room, shunting our dining table into the wall, pulverizing pot plants, scattering cat biscuits. Fishy, rancid, rotten seaweed breath melts my eyes. I'm looking into a tongue big and red as a steak, a throat as black as a sea cave. Its beak is huge enough to swallow me in a single gulp. You promised you'd never tell! The crane pecks Connie first. Well, gobbles, actually. It devours. The crane just gulps Connie out of existence, seizing all her body except her shoes. I can make out the shape of Connie's hands and knees and screaming mouth as she presses against a bulging blue throat sac. Grant dives into the kitchen, crawls like a cockroach, tries to escape out the cat flap. The crane steps on his left leg with its rubbery foot, big and webbed as a kite. It pulls Grant's leg from his hips with the sound of torn paper, leaving a hole, a circle of white bone and gristle hiccuping blood. While I scream and weep and shiver, the bird gobbles up my friends, snapping and swallowing, shuffling awkwardly in the cramped room. Its beak as long as a coffin, its vast bunched wings cracking every window that it bumps. Francine has a head one moment. The next, the beak snatches her head off, and then tugs her arms out of her torso. She smacks against the wall like a tossed banana peel, falls headlessly into the washroom. The bird pulls Hannah to pieces in frantic, rushed snatches, pecking. Then there are no more witnesses left to eat. The bird takes 6 thudding, stomping waddles to adjust its feet in the too small room until it is facing me. One black basketball eye on each side of its beak. It presses me against the wall. Hot, intimate, reeking salt breath puffs out from its nostrils, steaming my face, something trickling, moisture in my eyes. Fish stink. The mouth opens. The tongue lifts and flaps like a flounder. The throat pinches as it struggles to form words. You promised. As the bird lowers its beak and preens its belly, snuffling, mournful, I sink to the floor. As it rummages in its tummy feathers, my eyes wince and stretch and bend. It finds the spot where our baby resides, around its belly button. I pray for death. Get me out of this. But I live. I live and I watch her peck her belly till her flesh gives way and a torrent of pink water spews onto the floor. I watch her pull a tadpole thing from her insides, hold the twisting fetus aloft as it spatters the ceiling fan with juice. I watch the crane bite our baby in half and then suck the meat into its gullet. The bird turns, waddles into the lounge, jams its beak into the French doors, shatters the glass and wood with a few flicks of its head, tossing the doors out onto the lawn. It moves out into the sucking cold air, the wet grass, green below, black above, lit only by light leaking from our kitchen. Tsuru spreads her wings, rattling the apple tree, smashing the pergola. Our wedding vows, our invitations, stacks of menus spin in a whirlwind. Each flap of feathers sends paper flying, our home tornadoed. Then she's gone.